Hey, you guys, you are in for a real treat today because I have none other than Sholdon Daniels, who is running for Texas Congressional District 30 against the execrable Representative Ratchet, aka Jasmine Crockett. So stick around for all that today on the Angela Box Show.
Hello, my name is Angela Box. So you're talking my name.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, you guys, I've been waiting to talk to this man for a few months now. And when I heard that Sholdon Daniels, who is an all-star athlete, a criminal defense attorney, an all-around badass, decided, you know what? We got to get rid of Representative Ratchet, and I'm just the man to do it. I was like, I got to talk to him. So welcome to the show, Sholdon.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Angela. I appreciate it.
And it's Sholdon, not Sheldon, which I was miscalling you Sheldon for a minute, and I apologize.
No, it's okay. I'm used to it.
Yeah, you're like mom and dad, thanks a lot, mom and dad, right?
Right. She got a little creative there, but it's okay.
She did get creative. Sholdon.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell everybody why you decided to jump in before we get into all things Representative Ratchet. Why did you decide to jump in this race?
Because when I looked around, I had the feeling of if I don't do it, nobody is going to do it. And if we allow this country to just be usurped and overtaken by these extreme leftists, and I didn't even put forth an effort to try to get into, the arena and make some changes and stop all the terrible things that they're trying to do, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I wouldn't be able to look my kids in the eye. And so I could give you a longer story, but that's pretty much the gist of it.
Well, yeah, I want to know a little bit of because I'm in the Houston area. I know your district is in the Dallas area, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what I understand about you is that you're kind of a hometown hero type, and that a lot of people know who you are in your area. And that's why everyone, I think, is very excited that this has the potential to be flipped.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for that, calling me the hometown hero.
This is what I heard.
Well, Dallas County, first of all, let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
My background is not just limited to Dallas County. So I am pretty well known all throughout this region. I practice law in 4 of these counties, and I'm in courts in those 4 counties probably 3 to 4 days a week. I've been doing that for 11 years. And so all the way from the Texas-Oklahoma border all the way down to southern Dallas County, I have built a decent reputation for just being a low-key, hardworking guy, good morals. I made all my mistakes when I was young, and I learned a lot of lessons when I was young. And now that I'm 39 years old, I move a lot more maturely. I come from a family of people that are very service oriented. One of my uncles is one of the longest tenured mayors in the state of Texas, out of Whitewright, Texas. He passed away a few years back. He, served in the Army Air Corps and then in the Air Force. And I mean, this guy's a war hero. And these are the guys that I looked up to. And the men in my family, they're all deacons and volunteer firemen and things like that. My mom worked at a hospital. I have teachers. And so I come from a family that's just very service oriented. And when we look out in the community, we consider ourselves to be a part of like the positive change. And that's just how I was raised. And so when I was living here in Dallas, I wasn't really being true to that identity. I kind of skirted under the radar, and I took advantage of the fact that it's a big city and I let everybody else kind of handle things. But then I became a dad, and I started to get involved in the school system again, volunteering again, coaching again. And I start paying a little bit more attention, actually a lot more attention to certain policies that affect the family and kids in particular. And it's just so happened to be around the time when the left was trying to push these policies, giving teachers the right to push your kids into a sex change without having to tell parents, all these things, right? And so at that point, it was just incumbent on me. I'm also a trial lawyer, so I'm used to solving people's problems and their worst catastrophic problems every single day. It's just in me. It's just who I am. And so when I see someone like Jasmine Crockett, who is wreaking havoc and doing it on behalf of Texas when she's not even a Texan, I couldn't call myself a real Texan if I didn't, volunteer to go fight to protect my state. So
yeah, it's funny about I call her Representative Ratchet around here.
I
It's
love
gotten
that.
back to her too. She's none too pleased. I don't care. She is, what's wild about her is that if you only look on social media, she has these moments, obviously, and I think you've actually done some campaign ads, the compare and contrast of when she's in front of a white audience or on, quote, legacy media, and
Right.
when she's in front of a black audience.
Yeah.
And the way she code switches, which I've talked to a lot of black women. Some black women are like, they're offended by this, and some are like, no, this is just what happens. This because she feels like she has to talk down to certain audiences. And the Texas House, God love them. I mean, my contention is also they really don't like this lady because they basically cut her district, just cut the district off at the knees. What do you think about that? Do you agree?
No, they didn't cut our district off at the knees. What they did was they cut off. So our district was shaped, it was gerrymandered already, and it was just a very odd shape. You had all of southern Dallas County, like a big square, nice shape. But then it would do this snake thing up towards Love Field. They wanted to rope in the Love Field Airport. And so her apartment that she claimed residency at is up near the Love Field Airport. And all they did was just cut that little arm off, and then they extended us out a little bit further southwest into a more rural part of southeast Tarrant County. I would say 95% of our district is still intact. And so this narrative that TX-30 got wiped off the map, it's a bit of a stretch. What happened is, her address is no longer in TX-30, but TX-30 is still TX-30, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense. And thank you for clarifying that. Because we've heard a lot about, that they're gerrymandering all the black seats away. It's like, that's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true at all. But I do think it's funny that they were looking at her address and they're like, she's here. Okay, let's cut this right.
Yeah.
I just don't think they like her. I don't think they like her.
They don't. Some of her most ardent supporters here in Dallas County, they no longer like Jasmine. Jasmine has completely done a 180. She came down here and she played this little meek, humble role. And she got elected not on policies or ideas or on track record or reputation or capability. She was elected on the endorsement of Eddie Bernice Johnson. That's how things have worked here in Dallas County for a really, really long time. That's what I'm fighting against. And, it's bigger than Jasmine here in Dallas County. And so, people don't like her, to answer your question. And to go back to the code switching thing, to put it simply, Jasmine Crockett is just a dishonest person. She'll say whatever and do whatever to try and get ahead or get some type of attention or notoriety. And I mean, the latest example of this is when she wrongfully accused all these people of accepting donations from Jeffrey Epstein. And it's just patently false.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. We're gonna look at a Lee Zeldin clip in just a second, but I want to drop this one clip that in the comments on X, someone was like, I legit thought this was like a deep fake AI racist clip. It's Jasmine, rolling that neck and basically defending her colleague, Stacey Plaskett, from, texting Jeffrey Epstein on the floor of the House of Representatives. Roll that clip.
Stacey didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated that chain, and she took the information. Just like if somebody texts me.
Yeah, but she was responding and saying, what are you talking about? Quick, I'm up next. And then her questions were about Rona. But do you think that was inappropriate? I mean, would you text with someone who is a registered sex offender about what you should ask?
I honestly know that he had never been convicted of any federal crimes at that time.
But he had been in jail already.
He had been in jail.
Deal.
And my deal is this. The Republicans are constantly texting with a 34-count convicted felon. So if it's okay for them to text him at any point in time, then I'm not going to say that that's right or wrong, especially to the extent that you're talking about kicking someone off their committee. Were they sexting? Was it a matter of her being involved in the pedophilia? No, it was nothing like that. She was trying to understand.
I guess I don't want to harp on this forever and always, except that she makes it so easy. She really does make it easy. And there was a story that came out. I can't remember which outlet had it, but it was not a conservative outlet. I think it was like New York Times or one of those that basically said, like, all of her staff is telling on her. All of her staff is saying this woman is horrible. She only cares about social media and if there's a camera to be seen. And she sits around in her apartment all day and she's like terrible to work for. What have you heard about this?
I've heard the exact same thing. So as I talk to people around Dallas, people in the inner circle and, the people who were kind of in her orbit, they call her Princess Jasmine, and she's been a diva. When you grow up like Jasmine, when you're extremely privileged like that, I think she's like one of the top 3 wealthiest Black families in the whole state of Missouri, right? When you grow up like...
I didn't know she was from Missouri.
She's not from Texas at all.
Oh, wow.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But when you grow up like that, a lot of times it's harder for you to relate to like the everyday common person, and you find yourself kind of becoming this caricature of what you think it means to be common sense, everyday, blue collar, hardworking American. And I think that's where Jasmine gets herself in trouble, is trying to pander to people rather than just, holding herself out as what she is. She's an extremely privileged person. She comes from a very, very high echelon in American society, but she wants to sell herself as this victimized Black woman who is just this victim of racism and just a victim in general. Meanwhile, she makes, close to $200,000 a year. She already comes from millions, right? She went to a school that costs $50,000 a year, owns businesses, real estate just given to her from her parents. I don't understand the complaints. I don't understand the anger. I don't understand her excitement to come out every day and try to tear somebody down without even doing research, right? And I just feel like we could get so much more. Voters deserve more. And we're just tired of that brand of politics.
Well, you are certainly the person that this district needs. Said something in that kind of reminded me. The fact that this girl, she could be an old school Democrat, and she could say, listen, Black community, it's time to get our bleep together. Okay. Right. I come from a 2-parent household. Right. My family is intact. That's the number one precursor for success for anybody, regardless of race.
Right.
And she could hold herself out as a reformer for the Democrat Party to say, let's get back to some common sense. Right. But she's put her flag on the far left, which is really wild to me.
Well, she's being used as a puppet. This isn't Jasmine. We still have Alex Soros in the background. Right. I know, because we don't always talk about him. He enjoys the shadows, and that's why I always bring him up, because I think we need to shine more of a light on the whole Soros clan and their ties to American politics and how the money works. Because Jasmine has no business being in Congress. When you really start peeling back the layers and then you see the connection with the Soros clan, it's almost as if she were shifted here to Texas and there was a deal cut with Eddie Bernice, and they were going to usher this girl in to play this role, to stoke division, to make Black women, educated, wealthy Black women, look like straight Boquishas and straight ghetto women, right? And it's ridiculous. And yeah, you're absolutely right. She could absolutely be like the Democrat Condoleezza Rice, someone that our Black and white girls can look up to. It shouldn't matter what color you are. Like, a strong, upstanding woman is a role model to anybody.
To anybody.
Right. And so, but she doesn't do that. And it's because that's not what she gets paid to do. Jasmine is the Democrat Party's firebrand. And I say that with respect to the fundraising aspect. She admitted this too. You talked about that article that came out where her staffers kind of put her on blast. Well, when she did the follow-up to that after that came out, she mentioned it herself. She said, well, the other people in the Democrat Party, they don't even answer the phone when I call. They call me when they want me to help them raise money, but when I need something, they don't answer. And this is after she got the least amount of votes on the oversight committee deal and the whole leadership bundle that, she fumbled. But she admitted it. Democrats don't like her. Democrats on Capitol Hill do not respect her. And I've heard this firsthand when I was in D.C. They don't want to work with her. She will never be able to pass anything. And so the only thing she has is grandstanding, running out in front of the camera and saying and doing anything that she can possibly do to keep herself out there and keep the money coming in.
We also know that there are donors that I'm sure are going to be willing to make sure that they are investing and making sure that they can take down some of these candidates. Since they don't want to rule out dark money, I'm sure some dark money gonna pour in on the behalf of the American people. So what I am saying is every tactic, as well as making sure we're touching people.
It's not even a political disagreement. This is just who you are as a person, right? When I get elected to Congress, I will come back to my district probably 20, 30 times a year, every chance that I get. What you won't see is me out in Hollywood making TikToks with Jane Fonda.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and I'm here with Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman from Texas. And she knows what redistricting, what gerrymandering means. She is so powerful in Congress that the GOP want to get rid of her district in Texas. They've redistricted her house out of her district.
On taxpayer dollars. You see what I mean? And so that's the difference between Jasmine and I. People see that now, and I think that they're willing to, it's not I think, I know. Even Democrats are willing to give me a chance because they know me. They know me. It's one thing for you to say, oh, we got this guy, he's a Republican, we don't know him, and he's not from around here. But these people know that I'm really about the people and the community. Democrat, Republican, white, black, Mexican, it doesn't matter, right? Because my kids play with all these kids out here. You know what I mean? And so
absolutely.
That's how
I think you're, and it strikes me that the Republican Party has produced so many leaders like you of color. And it's such a marked difference when you look at the Republican leaders of color versus the Democrat leaders of color. We get accused of putting on minstrel shows. I'm like, actually, it's the Democrats that use Black people as minstrels. And as stereotypes. And Jasmine Crockett represented Ratchet. And the reason I call her that is because she acts ratchet. The reason she falls right into that stereotype. You would think she'd be insulted that the leadership of her party were like, shuck and jive for us, Jasmine. But she's not.
No, because there's money, there's dollar signs behind that. Jasmine just blew $75,000 on Ritz-Carlton stays and limousines. This is a lifestyle. This is why she ran for Congress. It's for the lifestyle. It's not to represent. Famous. Yes, it's not to help anybody but herself and her own pockets. She's exposed herself. I don't think I need to beat that dead horse anymore. Now it's just a matter of time. If you want to save yourself, Jasmine, you can still try to debate me. But we all know how that would play out.
Do you have a primary opponent, or is it clear?
It's pretty clear. I mean, okay. I have some people. I'll say this. I've made it look really cool and sexy to run for office in this town. And so a lot of people are inspired by the fact that somebody like me who comes from the ghetto can turn my life around and then have a real opportunity to go represent, this district in Washington, D.C. That's inspired a lot of people. I think you got a lot of people who are kind of putting the cart before the horse. It's one of those deals where they don't see the work that's been put in. They don't know my resume. They think I just woke up and decided to do this, and they're trying to do that too. It's not going to work out well for them. And the people at TX-30 know who's been working for them over the past year, trying to get in Congress. So, and
when you win the primary, which I think you will,
I will.
If she does not debate you, we will be putting that heifer on blast. But
please do. Please do.
I will. I want to get to your background because I did not realize that you came, from the hood. I was a teacher.
Girl.
I was a teacher in the hood. Okay, I thought I was going to be Michelle Pfeiffer standing and delivering. Instead, there was desks being thrown and jank and weaves. It was a nightmare. It was rough. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And as someone who comes from that background, I'm going to tell you my experience as a teacher. When you're a teacher, you usually get like 4 nightmares and 21 good kids, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Flip it.
Yeah.
These poor babies could not walk in a straight line. They had 0 home training. Most of them barely knew the alphabet, didn't know their sounds. It was rough. And I would tell parents, of the 4 good kids, I would say, whatever you have to do, beg, borrow, steal, get your kid out of this school. And so I'm sure for you, school choice,
absolutely,
is a huge issue for you. Tell us about that.
I launched my campaign on the school choice issue. Mm-hmm. I just think it's important that we remember why public schools exist. There was once a time when you didn't have public schools. You just had the lady that would read the Bible and read books and teach all your kids, their arithmetic and their letters. This public school thing has gotten to the point where now we want to just pump money into it and prop up buildings that don't produce educated children. We want to pump money into the system to prop up salaries, right, by people who don't teach kids anything, people who have completely given up. And so I want the dollar to follow the kid. Right now, it's a situation where, you're going to be limited to where you can go to school based on your zip code. And I don't think that's right, because we have some many zip codes here in Dallas County, for example, where the schools are like one piece of paper away from just completely being shut down and shuttered. Yeah. The kids aren't learning. They can't read, like you said. And so if you're a parent in that neighborhood, say you're one of the 4 good ones, right, that you mentioned, and you want to move your kid to a better school, I think that when you move your kid, the money that would have gone to that failing school should follow that kid to whatever school that you put that kid in, so that the money actually, we get a return on the investment. That's the main thing. I'm tired of throwing money away and watching us send billions overseas. And then I can step outside my front door and walk for 5 minutes and I'll see 10 homeless veterans. That just makes me sick to my stomach.
Absolutely. And because of your background, I think you're going to be really uniquely positioned to not only join the Freedom Caucus, which I hope you would.
Yes, absolutely.
But also I think you will be an example to show what can be done. And I think the Black community really has to have a come to Jesus with itself. Yes. Because there's been so much blame on whitey for, 100 years, since slavery, whatever.
Right.
There's no looking inward of why are our kids out of control?
Right.
Why is crime so high? Why can't none of us read? Why? Right. And I submit to you, and I'm sure you agree, that the Democrat Party has been the number one thing that has kept Black people down.
I mean, history backs up that claim and proves you right. When we first were freed from slavery, we went from bondage to, I think it was 88, 89% literacy rates in in a 20-year span. You had millions of people can't read. And then 20 years later, 9 out of 10 of them can read at a really high level. You had Frederick Douglass as a good example. That was when we were under the Republican banner. And that's when we were working in lockstep with our white brethren here in America, right? The anti-slavery, the abolitionists, and then just the solid common sense Americans who didn't believe in slavery. We partnered with them to form the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, the Democrats have worked tooth and nail to drive a wedge between us, to make Black people hate white people, to make the Black community fear and hate the Republican Party and be ignorant about the truth about the parties. And that's what my campaign is about. It's about educating people and showing people, look, let's go back in time and let's look at the history. You say white people have always hated on us, right? Well, what about John Brown? Do you know who John Brown is? And do you know what he tried to do to help the slaves, right? And he was a white guy, right? I can go on and on about white abolitionists, people that lived their entire life, all the soldiers that fought in the Union Army to free slaves. Yeah. I just don't buy into this notion that America has always hated white people. It's a lot more sophisticated than just white people hate Black people. And if you're not willing to do the history and do the research, then you're just going to have to depend on what the parties tell you. And unfortunately, right now, Black people don't want to listen to Republicans. They're too conditioned to fear and hate Republicans. And so it's one last thing. When I go out and I'm knocking doors and I'm talking to people, especially in the Democrat, bastions, mm-hmm. White Democrats, they aren't as accepting as a Republican, obviously. But the Black Democrats, oh my gosh, the vitriol. Like a white Democrat, we'll talk. We can have a conversation. As soon as a Black person finds out that I'm a Republican, the name calling, the threats of violence, the disrespect, and that is ingrained in them. That's not something that they reason themselves into. That's just something that was kind of put on them and they never thought to question it. And so with my campaign, I'm making them question all this stuff.
I hope that you use, when you do engage with them, I hope you show them the Democrat plantation and you explain how they've been used, lied to. And again, if white America, such as it is not going to be able to fix the Black community and fix the issues within the Black community, we can point them out. And because we all see, when we talk about things like Black fatigue, for example, I mean, yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Behavior.
Right.
And if we don't want to get honest about behavior, nothing is ever going to change.
It's morals, man. Mm-hmm. There was once a time when the Black community in America, especially in the South, they had the highest moral standards. You want to talk about being conservative.
Yeah.
I can take you back to my mom's hometown of White Wright, Texas, and you're going to meet some of the most conservative, biblical people that you'll ever meet. How those same people can vote Democrat in 2025 when their whole party is based on men can be women, right? It's just an affront to God, and it's an affront.
Abortion up to birth.
Right. And I don't understand how these people still vote Democrat. Now, I will admit, I was raised up in that environment. I was a young Democrat, I guess. I wasn't political. I couldn't vote, but I knew I was a Democrat because that's what all the old folks told me. But I always had questions. And it's like, how can we sit in church and say this, but then we go out here and we vote this way, or we support this thing, or we know that this political party is lying to us and pandering to us for our votes, but we keep giving them our votes. I don't operate like that in my real life. That's insane. And so politically, it was just a matter of time before I switched parties and became a Republican. And now I'm to the point where I got a lot of people around me who are at that point or beyond that point. We are flipping people from Democrat to Republican, flipping them back to Republican is what I like to say. Once they realize, the black people in the hood, once they realize that the Republican Party, they actually have some equity in that thing, right? And they got a piece of that thing, and the foundation of the party and the principles and values of the party align with how we're brought up. It's an easy switch. It's an easy switch. I just can't get them in a big group. I can't do a big group of Democrats, but if I can get 2 or 3 of them off to the side, we walk out, we got 3 new Republicans. And that's how we've been doing it all year.
I absolutely love that. So like, and I know you have a million other things to do, but this is such an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
The thing that I find really fascinating with what Trump is doing with sending in National Guard troops into cities like Memphis, for example, and I think he's choosing these cities very strategically, showing Black Americans, see what can be done when there's law and order, see what can be done when you can go outside and function in a civil society and not have to worry about being shot.
I'm sorry, Jasmine Crockett, but I want you to sit your ass down somewhere. How you gonna say that? Talking about he bringing peace to the world while causing all this mayhem over here. Oh, rules and boundaries is causing mayhem. Cause I just seen people in DC say they happy Trump sent them people there. I just seen people in Memphis say they happy Trump sent the military there. I just seen people, these certain areas happy that he sent the military to clean up the streets. Because now the children can play in the streets again. They can ride their bikes in the streets again. They can play basketball. But you talking about causing mayhem in your own country while causing peace in... What the fuck? See, people that don't understand boundaries, people that don't understand rules, they always going to be the ones that say it's mayhem and shit. Because they don't want to abide by the rules and they don't want to abide by what's going on. That is not how that works. That is nowhere near how that works. What? The man bringing peace around the world, and that's all you got something negative to say. You got to like, God, boy, I tell you.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a whole new thing. Like, why didn't the Democrats ever do this? Oh, that's the question, isn't it?
I think the Democrats are to a point now where they realize they've gone way too far left. They're broke. They're taking out millions of dollars in loans every other week. They have to come back center. And today was a huge move. We had Hakeem Jeffries, right? Minority Speaker of the House. Minority Leader of the House says Donald Trump deserves credit for securing the border. Do you know how far that's going to go with me when I'm going back out and knocking doors for Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat, to give Trump some credit? For so long, they weren't willing to give this man credit for anything. The smallest thing, only negative stuff is what they were heaping on him. But we're to a point now where there's starting to be some cracks. We're talking about abolishing the income tax, right? We're talking about refund checks of $2,000 coming in next year. Mm-hmm. All these good things that are happening. You know, we're blowing up drug boats off the coast. We're not letting the drugs come into our country. I support all this stuff. So do the people in the hood, the people who are watching their neighbors and their loved ones get taken by fentanyl and crack and cocaine. We are in support of our president, right? It's just, we need to bridge the gap. One of the things that would help ensure that I win this election and that other candidates like me can flip all over the country, the top brass in the Republican Party, they have to come down here and get involved. They have to. Because one of the biggest things that I face is people say, oh, well, you're out here doing all this for the Republicans and they don't even support you. They don't even want you to win, right? And so they need to know that Republicans care, that Republicans will come into the community and talk and interface and find out what matters so that we can solve problems. Because as soon as we do that, I don't think the Democrats would ever win another black vote again.
They won't. And if somehow if a miracle happens and we can get rid of the filibuster, they'll never win a national election ever again.
Can I talk to you about the filibuster?
election
I got
integrity
in some hot water over this filibuster deal on
Yeah.
social media, and so I made this post, coming out in opposition of us nuking the filibuster.
Oh, really? Okay.
I did, but not this procedural filibuster of delaying cloture, like what the Democrats just did, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against nuking that filibuster. I just don't think this is the right time, because right now, rather than doing like I said and just putting in the effort to flip these districts, right? Like send the people down, spend the money, go into these communities, knock the doors, and then we will ensure that we have a supermajority. Then we can pass whatever we want to pass, right? And it'll be the litmus test. Will the Republicans actually pass this stuff when we have the supermajority, or will they do what they're doing right now and what they've been doing, which is play games with us? So I'm like, don't nuke the filibuster, because I can't trust the current Republicans to pass anything. And then if we lose because we nuked the filibuster and the Democrats frame that as Republicans are just up there tearing up the foundations of Capitol Hill, because that's exactly what they will do, then they will likely win a lot of elections, because that's going to look really bad. Republicans are just tearing up,
Even though we all know that if Democrats win, that's the first thing that, Timu Obama, aka Hakeem Jeffries, is going to suggest. Chuck Schumer. I mean, this is my issue, is that I really think that I'm more on Trump's side on this, because I think that there's a lot of Republicans who don't like Trump.
We can't trust Republicans to pass anything, even if we nuke the filibuster. They will sit there and still let Democrats win, and then the Democrats will use that against us. Yeah. I think we need to have that there in case they do win, in case the Republicans don't do what they need to do to make sure we win a supermajority in the midterms. I just don't trust these people. We need a new Congress. If I had people up there that I were like, you know what, if we nuke the filibuster, they would absolutely secure elections. They would absolutely look out for the people.
Yeah.
And I would be all for it.
Right, but we don't know.
I don't trust these people.
Right.
I don't trust them. If they nuke the filibuster and then they still don't secure elections, what have we just done?
That is a good point. And I think Trump is just, baiting them at this point. He's like, let's see who's really going to do what they say.
I think what we need is we have to get out and out campaign the Democrats. We can't rely on nuking the filibuster. We need to do the work that they do. Like, they build coalitions, they spend money, they support their candidates, they get out on the grassroots level. If we can't meet them there and we have to rely on changing the structural rules of Congress and how it works every time we need to get something done, then we're going to hurt ourselves in the long run anyway. I just don't think it's prudent. We either need to codify the speaking filibuster, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
make them talk forever.
Make them talk forever, because that's ancient. Yeah. That's the ancient concept of the filibuster that I was talking about when I said the filibuster is this ancient concept. It really is. The filibuster itself, the concept of it, it's older than the English language. It's older than the word filibuster. So for the people who say, oh, it's not ancient, you're wrong. I get where they're coming from, but get where I'm coming from. The filibuster, the concept of speaking all day to prevent legislative action, goes all the way back to the Roman Republic, and Cato the Younger did it to Julius Caesar. That's the earliest known record that we have of a speaking filibuster. And that's why I'm like, let's keep the speaking filibuster, right? Because nobody can talk forever, right? But if we nuke this procedural filibuster right now, and then all those guys up on Capitol Hill that are, riding high and hiding in the shadows, if they still don't secure our elections, what will happen is the Democrats will take that one thing, we nuke the filibuster. They will use that against us so much that they will win a majority in the House. And then it's like we're going to be pulling the trigger on ourselves. Does that make sense?
I mean, I'm of two minds, but I see your point. Although I have to say it would give me much pleasure to see the definitely not closeted Cory Booker having to slap on a pair of adult diapers to do another, 48 hours of speaking.
Supermajority is greater than nuking the filibuster. That's my attitude. And if
I just think we're a long way from there, but Godspeed to you on that, Sholdon. Okay, so real quick before we have to leave.
Yes, ma'am.
The GOP, what is the district look like if the new map stays, let's look at it two ways, because obviously they're going to screw over Texas any way they can. They don't care about California redistricting, like whatever, do what you want to do. But us, of course, no. What does the district look like now? And what does it look like? Is it D plus what now? And what will it be D plus whatever next year?
On paper, it's D plus 27, but the reality is Republicans in TX-30 don't vote. We don't vote. We don't have anyone to vote for. And when people do go out and vote, Trump was kind of a polarizing character, but he even kind of brought out a lot of the Republicans and showed a flash of what I know to be true. I know these streets, right? And they're not red and blue dots on a map. Like I can drive down the street and I can tell you who has Trump signs and who is a supporter and who is not. In most neighborhoods, there are so many people who share conservative values, but they can't go so far as to identify as a Republican because they've been conditioned to think that Republicans are just a bunch of rich, white, racist Klan people. That's why Jasmine keeps saying this. She wants to keep reinforcing that because they are bleeding people over to our side. And so as long as they can keep scaring Black people away from the Republican Party, they're just a bunch of white racists, they're Klan, we don't want to be in with the Klan. Jasmine admitted this in one of her interviews. She said, we like the policies and the values we can get with. We just can't be cool with the Klan and them. And there's a lot of Black people who feel like that. So when you see me come knock on your door with my volunteers and you see that it's a coalition of Black and white, it eviscerates that whole notion that the Republican Party is just full of racist white people. And this is how we're winning people over. Even Democrats, even blue-haired, lesbian, Hispanic Democrat women are saying, I am voting for you this time, Sholdon. Not because you're the greatest, not because you're the smartest, but A, because you took the time to come knock on my door and hear me out. We've never had anybody do that, right? But B, because we know you're really for the people.
Yeah. I mean, look, you may not get all the liberal white women, which are the bane of my existence, but you're going to get more people than you think. So if the new map goes through, what does it get cut down to? Is it a single digit Democrat advantage?
I have no idea. And quite honestly, I don't run my campaign off of that. If this were a district where every election were hotly contested and everybody's coming out to vote and it's just consistently D27, then I'd be like, yeah, this might not be such a good idea. But that's not the case. What you've been having is Eddie Bernice Johnson basically just ruling unopposed. And meanwhile, so they roped in all these Democrats when they created TX-30. But over the past 30 years, those demographics have shifted so much. What used to be all Black, Dallas Lincoln High School in South Dallas used to be all Black. Go to Dallas Lincoln now and tell me what the demographics are. It's more than half Hispanic, Spanish speakers who don't even speak English. Many of these people don't come from Mexico. They come from farther south, Central America. They flee countries that have ruling parties that look like the Democrats. These people do not vote Democrat. Most of my supporters are non-English speaking Spanish immigrants, Mexican people, brown people. Immigrants. Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool.
What I hear every day is, man, I'm so glad that we finally have somebody that we can get behind.
That's amazing.
Facts. So what we need to win, this is what matters, right? I don't really care about the index and the D plus whatever. What I care about is how many votes do we need to win, and is it possible to get that number of votes? Mm-hmm. When we did the math. We saw Jasmine and the Democrats spend out of control. They had Kamala Harris at the top of the ticket, going against a Trump, very polarizing character, firing on all cylinders, and all she was able to bring out was 184,000 people to vote for her. Republicans, we couldn't really bring out a lot because we didn't have anybody to get behind besides Trump, right? But now that's not the case. And that's why Jasmine has shifted so much about herself. She got rid of the eyelashes. She got rid of the nails. She got rid of the big wild hair. She's trying to tone down her image a little bit, right? She's running.
Well, the internet's forever, Representative Ratchet. Real quick before I let you go, I was reading a story. Is it true that this heifer is thinking she's going to run for Senate now and maybe drop out entirely, thinking she's going to get the Democrat nomination for Texas Senate and then she could win?
Here's the game she's playing. I'm her opponent.
Yeah.
Right? She has to deal with me. How's she dealing with me? Ignoring me. She doesn't want to give me any. She knows my supporters, a lot of my supporters nationwide, not here locally, support me because they want her gone. Yeah. So if she can convince them that she's already gone, that she's already not my opponent anymore, then she says, oh, well, that's going to slow down his donations and that's going to slow down his support because they will see no need in supporting him. That's all she's doing. I guarantee you she's going to come out and say, I'm going to run for TX-30. I'm going to give up my ambitions to run for Senate. That's for me. I'm going to sacrifice that to come back and represent the people of TX-30. They need me. It's a big game. She's raising money. She's not going to run for Senate. She's going to run for TX-30. In the meantime, she wants to cut my legs out from under me. That's all this is. Jasmine cannot win Senate in the state of Texas. She knows this. She knows this. The only chance that she has to get back to DC is going through TX-30 and going through me. It's the only chance. She can't win in 33. Yeah. And so all of this stuff that she's doing, it's really aimed at trying to secure her seat here in TX-30. Because I'm coming for that seat and I'm coming hard. Like we are coming for that seat really hard, very aggressively. We're not asking permission. We're not here to play pity pat, right? And so she can't deal with that. Jasmine didn't have to campaign last time. It was literally, this lady said, I'm next. I'm next. She didn't have to face any scrutiny whatsoever. I am walking scrutiny. She doesn't want to deal with me. So that's why she don't want to deal with you at all. She's running for higher ground, trying to raise that Senate money, but I guarantee you she ain't running for Senate. She's not doing it. She's still too active in our district. You know, she's still got too many people out here doing things in TX-30. Her campaign in TX-30 hasn't slowed down a single bit. Not at all. Not at all. I would kill. If there is a debate, I want to be there. She would never debate me. She won't debate anybody. Jasmine can't debate. Yeah, she's the lawyer. Look at this. She's an attorney, right? Attorneys, we're supposed to look at evidence before we make accusations. This woman came out on national TV and accused someone of accepting donations from someone who's been dead for months. Yeah. And and I'm glad you reminded me of that because we need to play this clip because Lee Zeldin eviscerated her because this heifer is out there saying that all the Republicans are taking donations from Jeffrey Epstein, knowing damn good and well that the media is not going to look into it. They're just going to, say, oh, my goodness, can you believe it? And of course, it's a Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, a gentleman out of the state of New York who basically said, I think I'm going to start donating to her. So then she has donations from Jeffrey Epstein. Let's roll that Lee Zeldin clip real fast. Yes, ma'am.
Well, so the reason why Jasmine Crockett would go to the floor in the first place and be lying is because she's done it a lot in the past and they get away with it. So the thought is you take the cheap shot. There's not going to be any pushback, and it's a free hit on the right to change the narrative. The problem is that you better come at us with facts and truth, or you're going to end up regretting it. In this case, they say there's no picture of the donor, Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's true on FEC.gov, but what it does say for occupation is that this person was a physician. What it does say is the date of the donation, and the date of donation was after that other Jeffrey Epstein was already dead. Now, why would Jasmine Crockett go on CNN and what happened last night? Well, that's just about doubling down on stupid. That was a word salad that makes Kamala Harris sound like William Shakespeare. What happened on that CNN appearance was just an embarrassment in trying to clean up something where everybody knows common sense is that you're just supposed to own up to it. You made a mistake. You got called out for it. She didn't expect to get called out for it. But again, if you're coming at us, you better come at us with truth and facts because we're going to push back.
Okay, so wrapping up here.
Yes, ma'am.
How can people support you? And is there a PAC that is associated? Because obviously you can give more money to a PAC. Everyone needs to max out. Whoever can max out to your campaign, or even if they can't max out, any amount helps you guys. Any amount helps. How can they follow you and support you?
You can visit my website at danielsforus.com. That'll have all of my social media links, but you can add me on any of the social media. You can make a donation. Right now, I'm putting together a virtual ground team because the weather's turning cold down here. It's already hard to get people to volunteer for politics down here in Dallas, unless you're on the left. But with the weather getting colder, I'm losing some volunteers. I think that's to be expected. And so what I'm doing is I'm creating a virtual team. And so people can still help, and we can still keep up the momentum, and people can help from their phone. So you can still call people, you can still text people. I will assign you a list of voters in my district for you to just kind of check in with and build rapport with, so that when it comes time to get out the vote, we can come out strong. That's what all this is about, getting out the vote.
Yeah, turning out that vote. It's Sholdon, SHOLDON FORUS.
Yes, ma'am. Daniels.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. It's Daniels for us.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Daniels, the word for FOR and
yes, ma'am.
US. Yes, and we'll
ma'am.
put that on the screen and everything. Is there a path? I know that you can't say that there's
No.
I used to work with PAC. So is there a PAC that you know of that is supporting you?
Absolutely not. All of my donations and all of the funds that I've raised have been just grassroots fundraising. And I've raised a significant amount of money too, which goes to show that this isn't a fool's errand.
No.
And if you see the way these Democrats are reacting to my campaign here in Dallas, these big wigs, you would know this kid is not just spinning his wheels going nowhere. They are bleeding people here, and you will be surprised. I cannot wait for this election, because when we win, we will be able to write a textbook on how to flip a district, and hopefully Republicans will start buying in more on these candidates.
I am so encouraged. I think you actually have a shot, because it's not just a vote for you; it's a vote against that ratchet old hoe.
Yes, ma'am.
Representative Ratchet. Okay.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I'm all in. Whatever I can do, you just let me know.
Join my virtual team and help me make some calls.
I might be able to do that for you, Sholdon.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, guys. This guy's legit. Get behind him, support him. DanielsForUS.com. And we will see you in the next episode of the Angela Box Show. Until next time, everybody, keep kicking ass and taking names, and thy will be done. Peace.
Peace.